Good morning and welcome to this Fantasy Grounds demonstration of Elminster's Guide to Magic by Jeremy Forbing, Scott Bean, MT Black, and Heath Harris. I'll be highlighting various features of this module as it appears in Fantasy Grounds and demonstrating its features. First, we load the module as it appears in the Data Module Activation window and in the Library window under the Supplements category. Several links will appear categorizing which topic of the feature will be demonstrated. Reference manual is basically the book on the table. It prevents players from having to window out to another window, open a book, using up other computer resources, and overall just slowing down the game. So players will be able to click on the reference manual and go through different chapters. I'll briefly go over this. The chapters that are written here. It slightly varies from the PDF file. Always use the PDF file. It takes precedence over anything that is in this module. Users are able to click on the subchapters, see what is inside each subchapter, and they will be able to click on images that will call up another window to view them closer. They are able to flip through each of the pages and will be able to refer to this anytime that they wish. It is another layer of redundancy that allows players and DMs to seek out information that they might otherwise not be able to find in any of these library buttons. In the spellcasting section, goes over the first few chapters from the PDF folder. It is designed to simulate the PDF folder as closely as possible. Again, all images call up other windows that allow players and DMs to use for their personal use. Also within this spellcasting chapter is the spell index. Players can either use, they have three ways of looking up spells from this module. They have the reference manual that brings up the entire list of spells either by name or by class and level. Another way they can do this is by clicking in the library box and selecting either index they wish to view. Again, this comes straight from the reference manual. The final way they can do this is by going over here to the spells button. They can either search for the spell, as you can see the source appears in the right hand column, or they can narrow it down to the actual source book, in which they can also further narrow down to level and source. We'll clear this out. We're going to use it later. Also in this module is the artifact, the Rod of Seven Parts. This is a brief overview of it. It also appears in the items here under Elminster's Guide to Magic and the Rod of Seven Parts. Also highlighted in this chapter are various equipment indexes. This is viewable by all the players and the DMs. Some of them do have images that we'll call up. These I will demonstrate how they go onto the character sheet later. Also are included in this chapter are a new list of magical trinkets that add a layer of role play and intrigue or immersion to any campaign in the Forgotten Realms setting or other campaign settings that the DM wishes to use. Also included are various factions. This is highly detailed and includes verbatim word for word description of each of the magical factions that are included in the Elminster's Guide to Magic. Also included are various classes or class archetypes. In Fantasy Grounds, one of the key features of the game is that on the player character sheet, they are able to drag and drop these shield objects or just links onto the appropriate line or tab of the class, and it auto-populates everything they need if it's done right. And we'll go back to that. Also included are various feats. Again, these also are accessed through the reference manual, the library, or also library button. Finally, we have the last few chapters of the book and some in the middle that I categorized as other related matters that didn't technically fit under any of these. In my opinion, this is subject to change at the author's whim, and it includes more detailing that was also covered in the Magical Factions of Faerun. Just not exactly factions, more like details of each faction itself. And this goes on to, you got your spellcaster's library, so on and so forth. That's the reference manual. We're going to go on with making a brief character and demonstrating the capabilities of this module and how it complies with the automation that makes Fantasy Grounds so convenient for online players. We'll close these windows and we'll call up the character sheet. Here I pre-made a character, just a human character from the player's handbook. I included the stats. You have your skills tab, the abilities, inventory, notes, log, and actions. This is where your spells come into play and your weapons. We will be using that in a brief combat demonstration. Now, first I want to go ahead and show you how a user can create and level a character. We're going to go ahead and go with the wizard class. So we'll go to classes. We will narrow it down to Elminsters, and we will go to the wizard class. In this source book, the Guild Wizardry Arcane Tradition is available, and this is obtained at second level, and whenever a class is dragged and dropped onto this class and level, it will level the character up, including any hit points. We'll just go with 8. I don't know. Well, no, we haven't even put a class in. Okay. But it will populate whatever archetype is appropriate upon prompting. So if I were to drag and drop the wizard twice onto here, the so the only specialization or archetype is the Guild Wizardry. But if I were to drag and drop it from another source, at the appropriate level, the program will prompt me to select an archetype and then populate in the features section whatever is appropriate only to that specialization as well as the base class. This includes the spellcasting table that tracks how many spells a player gets per day. That's about it for just a class overview. So we'll drag and drop this. We'll put it as a first level character. Once again, you just drop. And again, I want to reiterate that this comes from the Elminster's Guide to Magic. So it acts and operates just like officially published content. Here I'm prompted to pick 2 skills in which they are auto-populated. Also, the base class puts down its first level features in the features section and the proficiencies, as well as spells. They match, as you can see. Okay, so we're going to, it's a human, so we'll give it a feat, and we'll give it a feat from the Elminster's Guide to Magic. We'll give it the Spellfire Wielder. I apologize for that. And you just drag and drop the feat onto the class for reference. And we're going to go ahead and level this character up 4 more levels. Once again, level 2 gives us our Guild Wizardry, since it's the only option available for this module, as well as the Guild Wizardry's abilities. The spell slot's leveled up, and we're going to do this 1, 2, and 3 more times. Okay. Some things are done manual, such as ability score improvement and such. Some spells will require the user to have a slight knowledge in how the actions work, but most Fantasy Ground players, or at least the DMs, do know how to do this. So as you can see, all of the abilities populated correctly. Now I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate putting a magical item on this character. For DMs that use the optional encumbrance rule, weights are included. So where are the items at? There we go. We're going to go here, and we'll put down the Staff of Earth and Stone. Populates. DMs can choose to either make this an identified or unidentified item. The weight goes in automatically. Unless they were to unequip it, then it comes off. The next thing I want to demonstrate is, excuse me for that, apologize. I want to demonstrate a couple spells. Most of the spells are parsed within Fantasy Grounds and are detected as clickable objects that are used in the combat tracker, which I'll briefly go over here lastly. So we'll go to we'll close these windows, we'll go to spells, and let's go to wizard, pick out a cantrip. We'll go with the Challenger's Mark. It's a popular one in my game. Okay, as you can see, the spell populates. The um, terminology, if it is worded correctly, will be parsed by the tabletop, and all a player has to do is literally click the button to, if they have a token targeted, to determine whether or not they hit with the spell. Any effects will be applied. They must click with these buttons, so the damage will be applied along with the effects. If there's a save, that is included whenever this player clicks the cast button. Then the save will be rolled for the target. So that's a cantrip. We'll just minimize that for now. He leveled to 5, so we'll go with the 3rd level spell. I like hailstones. Again, the Fantasy Grounds parses the different information that is here. At any time that there is a disclosure of higher level, the user must go in here and change the information themselves. As you can see, the dice numbers, the type of damage. Okay, so briefly we'll go over a quick combat scenario. So here is our combat map, and we have a little kobold encounter. This is the combat tracker. This is basically the bread and butter of Fantasy Grounds. We drag and drop the encounter, which is pre-made, onto the combat tracker. We'll make it visible, and as you can see, each token represents one entity inside the combat tracker. We will demonstrate both these spells real quick. So if it's the player's turn, what they do is they left click the target. It will show their distance in Fantasy Grounds. Movement is done by dragging the intended move across the board, across the grid, and then the DM accepting the move. And now the player, now that he has the kobold targeted, will go with the challenger's mark. So we'll cast. They missed. We'll do it again, just make a hit. No, my rolls are terrible. There we go. Nope, still missed. Anyways, assuming a hit, you will place the damage onto the target. The target has 5 hit points, and it is now dead. I don't know why it rolled 2d8. I'll have to look at that. Oh, it applied both of them. That's why. Okay. And then the player needs to untarget the dead kobold, target the new winged kobold, and make a ranged attack. Oh, jeez, I swear my rolls are usually better than this. Once again. Anyways, assuming that it hit, all the math is done for the player. So the Fantasy Grounds takes into account the wizard's statistics, any effects it might have, or whatever other conditions that will, including advantage and disadvantage, that will change the outcome of a roll. So assuming that we hit, we'll roll the damage. It's a lot of damage. Instant death to that kobold. That is Fantasy Grounds, and that is the Elminster's Guide to Magic. It's been a fun mod to create, and I look forward to using it in my campaign steadily. Have a great day, and please email me at levins.jeffrey@gmail.com if you have any questions, or get a hold of me on Facebook. Have a great day.